Prime Minister Narendra Modi has arrived in Paris on the final leg of his three-nation European tour, during which he's just met the French President Emmanuel Macron and is expected to discuss a range of bilateral issues of mutual interest. So those are pictures of Prime Minister Modi arriving at the LIC Palace. President Macron, Prime Minister Modi exchanging a warm embrace upon his arrival. As the Prime Minister landed in Paris, he tweeted to say that France is one of India's strongest partners, with our nations cooperating in diverse areas. So that was what Prime Minister put out on Twitter. Prime Minister Modi is among the first few world leaders to meet President Macron after his re-election last week. He congratulated President Macron, calling him a friend after his resounding win in the recently concluded French elections. This is an extremely interesting visit, coming in at a time when India and France, despite close relations, have taken a different view of Moscow in terms of the Russia-Ukraine war. And joining us on NDTV to talk more about this is Philip Turle. He is the International Affairs Editor of France 24. Thanks very much, Philip, for being with us on NDTV. It's a very crucial bilateral that is being held at a very critical time. And this is coming in at a time when France and India, despite close relations, have taken, very different views of Russia's aggression of Ukraine.
Well, that's true, and I think the two leaders who are about to go and dine together before Narendra Modi goes back to the airport to fly back to Delhi on this very brief visit to Paris are certainly going to discuss the situation in Ukraine. I think what President Macron is going to do is to try to convey to the Indian Prime Minister that Europe is hoping it will make a much more decisive decision to criticize Vladimir Putin over his invasion of Ukraine. And I think what President Macron would also like to do is to say to India, look, there are other ways out of this. We know you're in a difficult position as far as your relationship with Russia is concerned. You have a lot to lose, but we would like to offer you solutions. We would like to offer you a way out. We don't want India, we don't want Asia to be isolated and to be cut off from the rest of the world as a result of what is going on in Ukraine and with its relationship with Russia. So listen to us. We'll offer you a way out, and maybe if you can condemn Russia a bit more strongly, that will help end the war, and that will be beneficial not only to the European Union but also to India as well. And you have to remember that all of this is coming at a time when Emmanuel Macron, as you said, has just been re-elected as President of France, and also when France is holding the rotating presidency of the European Union, the European Council. So Emmanuel Macron is seen as being really the major figurehead in Europe and the man who has the close contact with Vladimir Putin. The two leaders spoke on the telephone yesterday for over 2 hours. So I think there is definitely growing pressure on the Indian Prime Minister to be a bit more critical of Vladimir Putin. Whether or not he will budge on that, well, that remains to be seen.
All right. Well, thanks very much, Philip, for joining us with that perspective. We're, of course, going to continue to keep a close watch on the outcome of that crucial bilateral. Well, shifting focus, inflation is up, and the RBI today has hiked repo rates after 4 years. So lending rates are up. Your EMIs are expected to go up, as is food inflation. Markets today tanked on the surprise announcement. Markets were down almost 2%. The RBI has raised the key lending rate by 40 basis points to 4.4%. The key lending rate has been hiked, like I said, for the first time since August 2018. The RBI also raised the cash reserve ratio basis by 50 basis points to 4.5%, clearly reflecting liquidity being taken out from the system.
Tormented by rising inflation, your household expenses are likely to rise even further, the RBI has warned.
To increase the policy repo rate by 40 basis points to 4.40%.
In a surprise move, it increased the main interest rate from 4% to 4.4%, which is the repo rate at which RBI lends to banks.
It is, however, important to recognize that despite our strengths and our buffers, India is not an island in this globally connected world. There are spikes in headline CPI inflation in March 2022 as anticipated in the MPC statement of April. The print for April is also expected to be elevated.
The rate has been stable at 4% since May 2020. In a similar emergency announcement, the RBI had then cut the key lending rate from 4.4% to 4% in May, in response to a global economic standstill caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The first hike in 4 years comes in the backdrop of soaring inflation. Retail inflation has remained above the RBI's target for the last 3 months. It neared 7% in March, a 17-month high. The RBI hopes to tame inflation with this rate hike. Governor Shaktikanta Das warned that inflation is likely to intensify in April and said that food prices will continue to rise given global commodity price shocks triggered by the Russia-Ukraine war. Virtually on cue but unrelated, another worrying forecast. The Food Secretary told NDTV that they expect less wheat production than initially expected, down by as much as 5.4%.
एग्रीकल्चर डिपार्टमेंट के हिसाब से पहले 1110 लाख मीट्रिक टन का उनका ओरिजिनल एस्टिमेट था, जो उन्होंने रिवाइज करके 1050 लाख मीट्रिक टन किया है.
करीब 5% कम हुई है.
करीब 60 लाख मीट्रिक टन का रिडक्शन.
But it's not just food. The central bank said that domestic hikes in fuel prices are also intensifying inflationary pressures.
The direct impact of increases in domestic pump prices of petroleum products beginning the second fortnight of March is feeding into core inflation prints and is expected to have intensified in April.
The opposition and some experts say the onus is now on the government to cut tax on fuel.
It is possible for the government to bring down inflation. That if the government was to reduce taxes on diesel and petrol and on CNG, it would reduce inflation rate without any intervention by the RBI.
What does the RBI's move mean for the common man? EMIs are likely to rise if banks follow suit and hike the interest rate on your home loan or vehicle loan. With Panchami Warrior in Delhi, Anasya Mathur for NDTV.
Well, on to the other big story that we're tracking, the LIC IPO, India's biggest IPO, open today. It's already 67% subscribed. The LIC IPO has opened for retail investors till the 9th of May. The shares for anchor investors are fully subscribed.
LIC agents and policy holders signing up for shares on day one of India's biggest IPO to date. The most enthusiastic response has been from them. Each share is 902 to 949 rupees with a total of 21,000 crore worth on offer.
We have seen a good response for this IPO of LIC. A lot of people are wishing to apply for this IPO as retail individual investors and as well as they are wanting to invest being a policy holder.
मैं LIC का होल्डर हूँ और मुझे जो है फर्स्ट टाइम हम ये भर रहे हैं IPO, तो मुझे ये डिस्काउंट रेट पे मिलना चाहिए. मेरे को दिक्कत आ रही है इसमें. आसपास तो हम इजीली भर लेते थे, पर ऑनलाइन भरने में हमें बहुत सी दिक्कतें आ रही हैं इसमें.
With over 22 crore shares up for grabs, the LIC IPO was most enthusiastically received by policyholders and employees. The portion set aside for the two groups was oversubscribed on day one. The IPO also received a good response from anchor investors earlier. The group fully subscribed to its portion, raising over 5,600 crores. On the other side, the portions reserved for institutional buyers, retail and non-institutional investors were not fully subscribed. Policyholders get a 60 rupee discount while employees get a discount of 45 rupees per share. The government hopes to raise a total of 21,000 crore by selling a 3.5% stake in LIC. The issue size is down from the 5% the government had planned earlier. However, the government's move has been criticized by some experts and the opposition. They question why was the offer size reduced to 21,000 crore and what took so long that the IPO has missed the high point of the stock market and has lost a lot of revenue with this delay. In recent years, data shows the government's disinvestment record has been poor with targets missed by a wide margin. But the IPO wasn't welcomed by all. LIC employees continued their protest against the IPO, which they call the first step towards privatizing LIC.
Today we are registering our protest against the policies of the government because this IPO is going to be detrimental to the interests of the policyholders and to the detriment of the interests of the Indian economy and the public at large. In turn will result in the reduction of income to the government exchequer.
LIC has been a household name in India for years, but it has hit the markets at an exceptionally volatile time. Priyanshi Sharma for NDTV.
Now, Maharashtra has been on high alert following Raj Thakrae's threat. Loudspeakers were turned off at many mosques this morning after Raj Thakrae's MNS, remember, threatened that they would play the Hanuman Chalisa from the mosques' loudspeakers if they weren't turned off. The Shiv Sena has lashed out at the MNS and said loudspeakers at temples too were turned off because of the MNS.
Maharashtra was largely peaceful today, with the only police action being taken against a few people who threatened an agitation against loudspeakers at mosques. The agitation was called by MNS Chief Raj Thakre, who is the Chief Minister's estranged cousin. And Sandeep Deshpande, MNS leader, tried escaping while coming out of Raj Thakre's home this morning. As his car sped away, a lady police constable was injured. Across the state, about 300 MNS leaders were taken into preventive custody overnight. Most mosques across the state avoided the morning azan on loudspeakers, say the police, and even temples avoided the morning aarti. MNS workers tried to play the Hanuman Chalisa on loudspeakers in the Kandivali area of Mumbai and in Nashik, but were stopped by the police. A defiant Raj Thakre alleged mosques using loudspeakers for a call to prayer is contempt of court. He also tweeted an old video of Sena Patriarch and the Chief Minister's father Balasaheb Thakre saying, if the Sena forms government, loudspeakers will be removed. The competitive Hindutva politics is playing out ahead of the civic body elections in the state, especially the all-important BMC elections, India's richest municipal corporation, and a prestige battle for the Shiv Sena.
मैं पूछ रहा हूं महाराष्ट्र की पुलिस को, इन 135 मस्जिदों के ऊपर आप कौन सी कार्रवाई करने वाले हैं? आप हमारे कार्यकर्ताओं को पकड़ रहे हैं और इनके ऊपर कौन सी कार्रवाई कर रहे हैं?
राज ठाकरे जी का इस्तेमाल करके ये लोग हिंदू में झगड़े लगाना चाहते हैं.
A massive deployment, preventive detentions, notices and an alert police force means that the state administration was able to avoid the law and order situation it had anticipated. But with the defiant Raj Thakre threatening to keep his agitation going, the state administration will have to be prepared for future flare-ups with civic body elections around the corner. In Mumbai with camera person Sanjay Mandal, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Moving on, after the communal clashes in Jodhpur, the curfew continues. Over 100 people have been detained by the Rajasthan police. 13 FIRs have been filed. Internet continues to remain suspended as well. Harsha Kumari Singh with the latest.
Jodhpur's Jalori Gate area, where two communities have always lived in close proximity. The clashes on Tuesday have left many with a sense of unease.
हाथ में डंडे थे, रोड थे, सिरिये थे, सब कुछ थे. अपना घर पे क्या सीसीटीवी लगा हुआ है सारा. ये गाड़ी को है ना, हाथ में जो भी था सामान उससे गाड़ी के आगे इसको डेंट किया, इस गाड़ी को डेंट किया. ठीक है.
तो कैसे वार किया? मतलब आपको लगा कि पहले से उनके पास प्रिपेयर्ड था?
प्रिपेयर्ड हो गया है. वो पहले से ही, और सब जने ऐसे नहीं है, मैं ऐसा नहीं कर रहा हूँ, सब जने ऐसे हैं. वो जो भी थे 40-50 जने वो प्रिपेयर्ड हो गया है, उसमें छोटे बच्चे भी थे, सब कुछ थे.
ये प्री प्लान भी हो सकता है, किसी चंद मुट्ठी भर लोग हैं, चाहे इधर से भी हो चाहे उधर से भी हो, पर चंद मुट्ठी भर लोगों का काम है.
Many homes here have CCTVs fitted on their entrances, and it is this footage that is now helping the police to identify and round up suspects. So far, over 100 people have been detained for Tuesday's violence and 13 FIRs filed for clashes.
वीडियो फुटेज, दूसरे कोई चीजें हैं जिसमें आरोप प्रत्यारोप से ऊपर उठ के हम निर्दोष को बाहर करें, और जो मुलजिम हैं वो चाहे किसी जाति से हो, उनके खिलाफ सख्त से सख्त कार्रवाई हो.
These CCTV shots, for example, show a mob led by young boys in their teens rushing out on the road armed with sticks. They damage scooters parked outside homes and also try and damage a place of worship. A handful of policemen on duty watch helplessly as the mob runs riot. The BJP has alleged that the government was not prepared for mobs like these who indulged in stone pelting and roamed the streets armed with sticks.
इसका प्रिकॉशन लेना, इसकी तैयारी करना, इसकी व्यवस्था करना लाजमी था, प्रशासन को करनी चाहिए और प्रशासन चूक गया.
But Jodhpur is not an isolated incident. In fact, it is the third such incident of communal clashes in Rajasthan in just 1 month. As the police begin to arrest and round up those involved in the clashes in Jodhpur, in the political rhetoric, it's important to untangle the threads. On the government's part, there appears to have been no forewarning of the fault lines on the ground. But the opposition too seems unwilling to give peace a chance. They walked out of the peace committee meeting held by the district administration and raised slogans. Clearly, political temperatures in Rajasthan are set to rise. With camera person Xavier Thomas in Jodhpur, Harsha Kumari Singh, NDTV.
Senior Congress leader and advocate P. Chidambaram has faced protests by lawyers of the Congress cell at the Calcutta High Court. In a video that has gone viral on the internet, lawyers can be seen shouting slogans showing him black robes and calling him a TMC sympathizer. Now this is all coming after the Congress's Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary filed a case against the TMC and Congress's P. Chidambaram appeared to defend the TMC. Listen in to what happened.
You have just come to statement of energy. You are playing with the sentiments of the Congress workers. And being a member of parliament, just by the International Congress, because of you people, because of certain persons like you, that the party is not being able to stand at its It's just because of you people, it's just because of leadership like you, that this is happening in West Bengal. They have looked at public money and you are saving Trinamool Congress.
A 13-year-old rape survivor was allegedly raped again by the in charge of a police station in Uttar Pradesh's Lalitpur when she'd gone there to register a complaint. Now, the 13-year-old girl alleged that she was raped by 4 men, following which she went to the police station to file a complaint along with a relative. The accused police officer has finally been arrested more than 24 hours after the case was filed.
Betrayed by those from whom she sought justice, this 13-year-old girl first allegedly raped by 4 men and then by a policeman inside a police station when she tried to file a complaint. The official, an SHO or police station in charge, arrested a full 24 hours after the FIR in the case.
इस संबंध में जो विवेचक हैं वो क्षेत्राधिकारी स्तर के अधिकारी हैं, उनके द्वारा विवेचना की जा रही है. साक्ष्य संकलन, पीड़िता के बयान और जो वहाँ पे एविडेंसेस मिलेंगे उसके आधार पर निष्पक्ष कार्रवाई करने के निर्देश यहाँ से मिले हैं.
All other policemen at the police station have been removed from duty. The FIR filed by the girl's mother on Tuesday says the victim was lured by 4 men and taken to Bhopal on April 22nd, where they raped her for 4 days. The accused then brought her back to her village on April 26 and allegedly dropped her at the concerned police station before escaping. The accused SHO then handed over the girl to her aunt, the FIR stated, adding that she was called to the police station the next day for recording her statement. On April 27, the accused official allegedly took the girl inside a room in the police station and raped her. The Lalitpur police say they have charged the official and other accused for rape and under the stringent POXCO or the Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act.
NGO चाइल्ड लाइन द्वारा जो है बच्ची को लाया गया था. बच्ची ने उनको पूछताछ की थी तो बच्ची ने अपनी सारी इस तरह की बातें बताई थी कि सर जो है घटना घटी थी. चाइल्ड लाइन के जो NGO के लोग थे उन्हें उस बच्ची को यहाँ लाए थे. उन्होंने पूरी बात जो है हमको बताई और हमारे संज्ञान में बताने के बाद उस पर तत्काल कार्रवाई की थी.
Congress leader Priyanka Gandhi Vadra slammed the state government and said the alleged rape incident shows how genuine law and order reforms are being suppressed by the din of bulldozers. Samajwadi Party chief Akhilesh Yadav met with the victim's family, criticizing the Adityanath government for what he called shoddy law and order. With Vinod Gautam and camera person Rajesh Gupta, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
Twitter will always be free for casual users, but maybe a slight cost for commercial and government users. Well, the new owner, Elon Musk, made a public appearance after the controversial hostile takeover of the social media giant. The Tesla and SpaceX chief Elon Musk on Monday walked the red carpet in a black tuxedo at the annual Met Gala in New York with his mother as his date. The billionaire tech tycoon revealed his plans for Twitter and admitted that he's not completely immune to some of the negative comments that are said about him. But he's also said that it is going to continue to remain free for the common man.
Well, it does get to me sometimes. I mean, I'm not like, I do have feelings on Android. I think one has to take these things with, a grain of salt. We have to get rid of the bots and trolls and the scams and everything, because that's obviously diminishing the user experience, and we don't want people getting tricked out of their money and that kind of thing. I'm definitely on the warpath. So if somebody's operating a bot and troll on me, I'm definitely their enemy. I think aesthetics are important, and I just followed the sort of basic instructions on them. So I think I sort of look like a Downton Abbey or something.